Metatarso, admit, Mameshlu, admittal, neutral, continue. So, metatarsophalangeal joints are between metatarsals and phalanges, right? Phalanges of the toes, all the 5 toes, right? So the metatarsophalangeal joint articulations are wider, ellipsoid joints between the rounded metatarsals and metatarsal heads, and shallow cavities on the proximal phalangeal bases. Yes, they are usually 2.5 centimeters proximal to the web spaces of the toes. Okay, remember that. So the MP joints, they are usually called as MP joints. Metatarsophalangeal joints are 2.5 centimeters proximal to the web space of the toes. Right. So you see, these are the, thank you. These are the metatarsal bones, right? From 1 to 5th. You see the heavy and bulky first metatarsal. This is the second, third, fourth, fifth. So this one is called as base, right? Shaft and head, right? The constricted part, if you remember your osteology correctly, constricted part is head and the elongated shaft and admittal and the broad base, right? So the base articulates with the tarsal bones, right? So medial cuneiform, intermediate, lateral cuneiform and cuboid, and head articulates with the phalanges of the joints, right? What happened? Right. So base articulates with the tarsal bones and head articulates with the phalanges, right? So the joints exist between phalanges and metatarsals are MP joints, right? You see, these are the metatarsals, right? These are the phalanges. Proximal, distal, proximal, middle distal, proximal, middle distal, proximal, middle distal, proximal, middle distal phalanx, right? So this is the MP joint, right? So this is the plantar view. What happened? Share my screen. I am unable to share my screen. What happened? I'm already sharing now. See, this is the plantar view, right? So we have two sesamoid bones, medial and lateral sesamoid bones in the first metatarsal, right? So this is the plantar view. And so MP joints. The joints between the phalanges are called interphalangeal joints. A tubercle exists at the side of the head. Okay, tubercle of the metatarsal sides. At the sides of heads of metatarsal, there is tubercles of the metatarsals, right? So articulating surfaces between the head and phalanges. Articular surface covers the distal and plantar but not the dorsal, okay, aspect of the metatarsal head. The plantar aspect of the first metatarsal head has two longitudinal grooves separated by a ridge, the crista. Each articulates with a sesamoid bone, okay, embedded in the capsule of the joint, formed by the tendons of the flexor hallucis brevis. So revise your muscle, when you learn the muscles of the foot, okay, and osteology, we have covered most of it, right? The anatomical aspect, how the tendon flexor sheath, extensor flexor sheaths, okay, all the sheets, how they intricate web of tendons, how they form, all these things, okay. Revise the muscles of foot again after this class, right? Sesamoid bones are connected to each other by a intersesamoid ligament, okay. So these two sesamoid bones have intersesamoid ligament, which forms the floor of the tendinous canal for the tendon of flexor hallucis longus, because FHL passes between two sesamoid bones, right, to reach the distal phalanx, right. The medial sesamoid bone receives an attachment from the adductor hallucis, and the lateral sesamoid bone receives an attachment from the adductor hallucis, right. Medial sesamoid from abductor, lateral sesamoid from adductor hallucis, forming the conjoint tendon, right. So this one is collateral ligament. So the metatarsal and phalanges non-articulating surfaces are joined by collateral ligament, right. And this is conjoint tendon. You see, this is the flexor hallucis longus. Okay, tendon travels between the two sesamoid bones, right. You see, between the two sesamoid bones to reach the distal phalanx of the great toe, right. If you remember this anatomy, what is this called? This is called as knot of Henry, right. So this one is a flexor hallucis longus tendon, travels all the way. You see, this is the sesamoid bone all the way to the distal phalanx, right. This is flexor digitorum longus. You see, this is the intersesamoid ligament, right. Same thing. So lateral sesamoid receives adductor hallucis tendon, and medial head medial susceptible bone receives abductor hallucis tendon. So all of these fuse together to form conjoint tendon, right? This sheath is conjoint tendon, right? See, these are the adductor and this is abductor, right? All of these in the tendinous sheaths, right? Okay. Why is your anatomy? Articular areas on the proximal phalanges are concave. The ligaments are capsular, plantar, and deep transverse metatarsal and collateral ligaments. Fibrous capsule attached to their articular margins, thin dorsally, and may be separated from the extrinsic tendons by small bursae, or they may be replaced by the tendons, but they are inseparable from the plantar collateral ligaments, right? So thin dorsally and inseparable from the plantar and collateral ligaments, right? This is the MP joint, right, with intact capsule, right, because of the shiny things. You see, if we connect the longitudinally, this is the capsule surface, right? This is the dorsal part, and this is the ventral or plantar part, right? See, dorsally it is very thin, capsule is very thin, but plantarly it is very thick. Okay, this thick capsule is called as plantar ligament, right? It is blended as with the ligament as plantar ligament, and it blends with plantar and collateral ligaments. Okay, laterally, you see how thick it is. This is plantar ligament, right? You see how thin it is dorsally. The plantar and aponeurosis blends with the plantar capsule to form the so-called plantar plate. So the plantarly, it has a plate-like structure. That means very thick structure, because aponeurosis gives two slips. Okay, after dividing as a okay, you remember the aponeurosis. Okay, it gives off two slips, right, at every digit. So plantar aponeurosis blends with the plantar capsule to form the so-called plantar plate. So after receiving this plantar ligament, after receiving the two slips, okay, it again becomes thick and called as plantar plate, which inserts distal into the base of the proximal phalanx via medial and lateral bundles. Proximally, the plate is attached to the metatarsal head via thin synovial fold. It also receives an attachment to the accessory collateral ligament. It also looks like confusing, but it will be easier once you get the visible. You see, this is the plantar aponeurosis. You see, this is the two slips. Okay, medially and laterally, it is giving two slips to form plantar plate. Okay, tendinous sheath along with the tendinous sheath, flexor tendinous sheaths. The whole complicated structure. There are three ligaments: plantar ligaments, deep transverse metatarsal ligament. We have already seen this in the previous class, and collateral ligaments, right? All of these gives off strength to the MP joints, right? Plantar ligaments are thick and dense. They lie between and blend with the collateral ligaments being loosely attached to the metatarsals and firmly attached to the phalangeal base. So metatarsal, they are attached loosely but attached firmly. You see, this is the thickening of the capsule. Okay, in the plantar aspect. Right, their margins blend with the deep transverse metatarsal margin metatarsal ligaments. Plantar surface are grooved for the flexor tendons, the fibrous sheaths of which connect the edges of the grooves, and the deep surfaces extends articular areas for metatarsal heads. Okay, you see, this is the deep transverse metatarsal ligament, right? So these are the plantar ligaments, thickening of the capsule, right? Okay, this is the plantar ligament, thickening of the capsule. Okay, it is firmly attached to the phalange. Okay, and loosely attached to the metatarsal head. Observe that. Okay, you see, this is firm attachment to the phalanx. That is why if the phalange is extended, the plantar ligament also moves along with the phalanx, right? Deep transverse metatarsal ligaments. The deep transverse metatarsal ligaments are four short, wide, and flat bands that unite the uh, plantar ligaments of adjoining metatarsophalangeal joints, right? So these unite all the plantar ligaments like an arch. Interosseous, dorsal to, and lumbricals and digital vessels and nerves are plantar to these ligaments. That means this deep transverse metatarsal ligament lies between interossea and lumbricals, right? They resemble the deep transverse metacarpal ligaments, except that in the foot there is deep transverse metatarsal ligament between the plantar ligament of the second metatarsophalangeal joint and the of the first metatarsophalangeal joint. Okay, after the completion of the hand anatomy, you'll appreciate that point. This is deep metatarsal ligament. Okay, all of these adjoins the plantar ligaments, right? You see, this is the deep transverse metatarsal ligament. Okay, all of them uniting the, you see, plantar ligaments. You see, this is the plantar ligament, right? Thickening of the capsule. All of them are united. Okay, see, appreciate that. Coming to the collateral ligaments are cord flanking each joint, strong. They're attached to the dorsal tubercles. Okay, tubercle means head has sides. Tubercle on the metatarsal heads and corresponding side of the phalangeal bases, they slope inferodistally. The first metatarsophalangeal joint also contains metatarsosesamoid ligament. On either side, the ligaments arise from the metatarsal head with a narrow origin, then fan out into inside the border of the proximal phalanx and plantar plate. Right? You see, these are the tubercles. That means collateral ligaments are phalanx base. Okay, from tubercle to the phalanx base. Right? This is the collateral ligament. This is the MP joint within the capsule. Okay, you see, this is the collateral ligament. From the head, this is the head, right? From tubercle to the base of the phalanx. You see, from laterally. You see, this is the collateral ligament, right? Observe that. You see. Okay. This is during extension. Each collateral ligament consists of phalangeal collateral ligament, which inserts into the base of the proximal phalanx, and accessory collateral ligament. That means phalangeal part and accessory part. Accessory collateral ligaments insert into the plantar plate. That gives it stability, right? So one band goes to the plantar plate and another band goes to the base of the phalanx, right? You see, one band going to the plantar plate, right? One band goes to the phalanx like this. That is the two parts. You see, this is the phalangeal ligament, Chasman phalangeal. You see here it is called as superficial and deep, right? If you observe them correctly, superficial part is to the phalanx, okay, base of the phalanx, right? Base of phalanx. But deep part goes to the plantar plate, right? That is the anatomy. Coming to the synovial membrane, each metatarsophalangeal joint has a separate synovial joint. Relations. Dorsally, the tendon of extensor hallucis longus, if you remember all your muscles, okay, it will be easy. Extensor hallucis longus, medial to the tendon of extensor hallucis brevis, right? Because hallucis is medial. Same arrangement occurs in the lateral four toes with the extensor digitorum longus and brevis, right? We all know this. Intraosseous, plantar medial and plantar lateral, dorsal to the transverse intermetatarsal ligament, right? Whereas the lumbrical tendons and the digital artery and the nerve are plantar to the transverse metatarsal ligament. Okay, that means transverse metatarsal ligaments lies between interossei and lumbricals, right? The extrinsic and intrinsic flexors lie on the plantar aspect of the joint in the midline. Flexors lie on the midline. Approaching metatarsophalangeal joint surgically from the plantar surface, it is important not to stray from the midline. These are the attachments, all the tendons I have included from them for you. Okay, the stability is given by the capsulo-ligamentous structure and the tendons of the flexor and extensor hallucis brevis and longus, right? Collateral ligaments and plantar plate stabilizes the metatarsophalangeal joints of the lateral four toes. Rupture of the plantar plate can lead to the dislocation of the metatarsophalangeal joint and possibly hammer toe deformity. So the most important structure is plantar plate, okay, thickened capsular ligament, right? Flexion is by the flexor digitorum brevis, lumbricals and interossei. That means flexion of the toes, right? Assisted by digitorum longus and flexor accessorius. In the fifth toe, flexor digitorum minimi brevis, and for the great toe, flexor hallucis longus. Okay, you all know these muscles and the function of their muscles. Okay, just you will get the revision again. Extension, extensor digitorum longus, brevis, hallucis longus. Abduction is from adduction is from adductor hallucis. So the adduction and abduction is from the second metatarsal, right? Abduction. Coming to the interphalangeal joints. Interphalangeal articulations are almost pure hinge joints, okay, in which the trochlear surface of the phalangeal heads articulates with the reciprocally curved surface on the adjacent phalangeal bases. Okay, each has an articular capsule and two collateral ligaments, as occurs in the metatarsophalangeal joints. Same is true of phalanges also, two collateral medial side and lateral side. Okay, here is the phalanx. The plantar surface of the capsule is thickened fibrous plate like the plantar metatarsophalangeal ligaments and is often termed as plantar ligament. Movements are flexion and extension, which are greater in amplitude between the proximal and medial phalanx than between medial and distal phalanx, right? Flexion is marked but extension is limited by tension of the flexor muscles and plantar ligaments. Abduction, adduction and rotation occur at a minor extent. Flexion is produced by flexor digitorum longus, brevis, hallucis longus, flexor accessorius, Action is from extensor digitorum longus brevis and hallucis longus and brevis. Okay, there is a distinct this is called as hallux valgus. Okay, that is medial deviation of the metatarsal, right? First metatarsal with adjoining lateral deviation of the hallux, right? With thickened medial part which is called as bunion, right? This is very painful condition. It will be appeared on X-ray like this. Okay, medial deviation of the first metatarsal, right? And this one is lateral deviation of the hallux, right? With that we have completed that. Coming to the 3D anatomy. I'm sorry. You see, these are the metatarsophalangeal ligaments. Okay, those are the capsule of the foot, right? And that is deep transverse metatarsal ligament. Okay, see, that is deep transverse metatarsal ligament, right? You see, all of these tendons are, this is extensor hallucis longus, right? And this one is extensor digitorum longus, and this one is, and this muscle is extensor digitorum brevis, right? Same is true of plantar aspect. You see, this is the plantar aponeurosis, we'll had it. Okay, these are all the different muscles, okay, which directly goes to the phalanges, okay, distal phalanges, in order to produce those movements. Okay, revise all the muscles of the foot, you will appreciate the anatomy along with the tendinous sheaths. Okay, flexor tendinous sheaths and hoods, extensor hoods, right? That is the class today. If you have any doubts, let me know.